Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. As you no doubt can see, that's a Rolls-Royce. That's the latest and greatest Cullinan. If you're in America and you want one, prices start at a little over $450,000. But surprisingly enough, it's the best-selling Rolls-Royce of all time. And though that front end has got people divided, I've never seen one of those in real life, so I can't really comment. Would I have one? I'd have to have a look at it in real life and have a drive of it if I had that kind of money. But I ain't, so I can't do it. Anyway, enough about that. As you know, the dating industry is in severe trouble in America and across Western Europe and around the rest of the world. And this is starting to have some sort of effect on the American public, as I've seen on American TV shows on YouTube, the all-women panels complaining about the lack of women being able to secure a guy on dates. So having a look around, I found this. This is a North Carolina news website, the Queens News, a city in North Carolina called Queens, most probably. And as you can see, this was why dating has become more difficult in 2024. Now this was published on February 14th, Valentine's Day this year, and updated 2 days later. It says flowers, candy, balloons and other gifts. The National Retail Federation estimates customers spend an average $185 for someone special on Valentine's Day. Officials expect Americans to hit a record $25.8 billion this year. Now it goes down. It's just not the economy that makes dating difficult in 2024, but experts say that so many apps and so many options, it could be hard to pick just one person. In other words, the people are picky, with women especially picky. And then this lady, Lori Burzak, owner of Carolina's Matchmaker, been in the love business for 18 years. I wonder if she's single or if she's married herself. She curates that, in other words, she's a matchmaker. A curate is a religious term for somebody who supports the local reverend or vicar in my country. Online dating profiles women to pretend matches, and men hire her for matchmaking. If any guy's got his act together, he doesn't need to hire a woman to get involved with another woman. And she goes on, it's very different from the 1980s when you had to pick up the phone. The 1980s were good, and the women looked more feminine then. No tattoos, no face piercings, and they really looked like women, not like pseudo-men as some of them do today. But I'm getting distracted now. He needed to write a letter. She explained it was a lot of effort, and a lot of people don't expend that much effort all the time. On a personal note, Mum came from Stoke-on-Trent, 50 miles from Warrington. Dad got in contact with Mum after he met Mum at Butlins in Skegness. He rode his pushbike down to Stoke-on-Trent once, but to keep in contact with her, he wrote a letter, and Dad worked on the railway, so he got or what do you call it? If you work, you get a discount on the train ticket, a rail pass, so to speak. So that's how Dad kept in contact with Mum. But anyway, I'm getting distracted again. She says, Burzak says that online dating gives the appearance of endless options. And then she says there are so many options now with online dating that people think what's behind door number 1, 2, 3 and 4. The breadcrumbing people. In other words, women are breadcrumbing guys, but this women could have, say, 4 or 5 guys all wanting to get in contact with her, and she gets a constant attention, which means that they are sort of feeding them a little bit of attention, as I just said, but not enough that really creates a real relationship. In other words, she's basking in the attention of several men, but she's not really interested in any of them, or until Chad comes along, when then she drops all the men that are giving her attention and she goes after Chad, till Chad no longer wants her, and then she goes back to these guys and starts breadcrumbing them again. It says in a podcast, Love Go Back, Berzak, that's this lady, helps people explore and navigate some of the changes in the relationship world. She has noticed even the lingo of the dating world has changed. And then it goes yada yada about it. Whether you prefer digital dating or in-person courtship, I'd rather have it in-person courtship, because then you know what you're getting. Berzak says your love story can still have a happy ending. Maybe. But in this day and age, it's debatable. I think it's so important to come across transparent, authentic when you're online dating as well as social media, because people are checking out their socials almost immediately. And then here comes a sales pitch. She recommends women looking for love should join her database for free. And then she has to charge them a while because she's in a business. Now that's the North Carolina Queen City News about dating. This was done, as I said, Valentine's Day. Fast forward to March 25th this year. I found this in live now at Fox. Could be a branch of the Fox News service. Cost of dating in America in 2024 is stressing people out. Survey finds. Now this is about America. Trying to find love can be stressful for a variety of reasons. However, a recent survey conducted by Self Financial found that money may be one of the most significant factors in dating. Then, according to the survey results, 69% of Americans felt uneasy about the cost of a date, while almost 68% expressed anxiety about managing expenses when planning a date. Then it goes down, yada yada. This is what Americans spend on dating. Roughly 2/3 of respondents to the survey said spending more on a date would make it a success. Now, whoops. The average American spent on a date varied by gender. On average, American men reported spending $67.87 on a date, while American women spent less, $56.61 on a date. But if the American woman is on a foodie date with a man, she's spending nothing, and he's spending $67.87. And it said the survey found that dinner dates were the preferred method of meeting a potential new partner, i.e., is she on a foodie date for just a free meal, and she has no intention of going with the guy. And then it says, in fact, nearly half of all respondents said meeting for dinner was their preferred way of meeting someone, while 44% of respondents preferred coffee dates. Well, coffee dates is you treat the date like a job interview with a woman. You take her to a coffee and see if you get on with her. If so, then the next date you ask her out for lunch. And the date after that is a dinner. You don't just go at dinner. These 44% of guys, they're switched on and they know what women are like, so they just take them for a coffee date to see if there's any spark between them. And he says, according to the US Census Bureau, individuals who go on one date per week spend slightly less than the average monthly dining out expenditure of $218.42 for all Americans. I don't know how much a meal in a restaurant is in America. I've never been there, so you can take that as a moot factor. And then it says, however, expenses escalate for those dating 3 or 4 times monthly. Those dating 1 or 2 times per month spend on average $57.21. That would be the guy. Whereas those dating 3 to 4 times spend a higher amount of £69.68. So, let's just say an American guy is spending that on a date. 69.68 68 per date, and he goes on 4 dates per month. 278.72, which is more or less that. Now, if he does it for a full year, divided by 12, he's spent on the thick end of $3,500 on dates on a woman, and what does he get at the end of it? Maybe nothing, maybe something. But the $3,500, you could have a nice vacation on that on your own abroad and enjoy yourself, instead of being $3,500 out of pocket with nothing to show for it after all those dates. Anyway, it says how much each generation spends on their first date. Gen Z spends $72, Millennials spend $83, Gen X spends $82, and Baby Boomers, that's me, would spend $58. So those of you watching this, you're in each of those groups, and that's how much on average your fellow Americans, if they're dating, will be spending per date. And that's the Fox News. Now the woman gets a date with the guy, but he doesn't go on a second date with her or a third, and he just ghosts her. I found this, marriage.com. This is, as I've shared on this site before and other videos I've done, this is preliminary aimed at women. 20 reasons men act interested and then disappear. This was naturally done by a woman, this lady, Christina Njoku, and this was done on 29th of April this year. And it goes down. What else could be more frustrating than a cool guy you fancy acts hot and cold? That'd be Chad. One moment he is interested in you, the next he backs off, and the minute you decide to give up, he acts interested again. Such unpredictability can be pretty confusing and also throw you off balance. And then trying to figure out, some men could be as challenging as breaking a rock. Your instincts tell you he likes you, but you can't explain why he is hesitant to admit it. If you face such a dilemma, you want to know why do guys disappear when they like you, then this article is perfect for you. And then we'll get more yada yada. And then here's the reasons. Number one, he's in it for the sex. That would be Chad. 2, he's just too shy to make a move. That will be more or less me. When he finds you boring, that's understandable. Some of these attractive young women, they don't have any conversation in them. If you're going to be with a woman, you want something to talk about. And I've seen in the comments on other MGTOW videos, the woman just was on her phone for the date, which is just rude and ill-mannered, so no wonder he didn't go with her again. 4, he has other priorities at the moment. Could be another woman he's interested in. He is struggling to figure out his own emotions. That is debatable. Several theories research about understanding female psychology. However, the male behavior pattern is not as straightforward as widely believed. The males are simple creatures. They like the look of a woman, they like get on with them, and then they want to see how far they can take their relationship. Intelligent, creative guys have difficulty determining what they truly want in a lady. No, guys in general want a woman they like the look of, they got on with, and more importantly, the woman likes them as much as they like her. And it said at first they make them all strong at you, then suddenly disappear. And he's coming out from a troubled breakup. If he met somebody else, that would be a Chad. He's got somebody else, he's more interested in you. Because remember, the more wealthier the guy is, the more options the guy has. if he thinks he's not good enough for you. That could be a simp with a poor self-worth. Forget about the whole talk masculinity. Guys sometimes feel they're not good enough for the person they admire. Well, yeah, it would be if you fancy someone who's rich and famous, you don't think they're good enough for them. If he cannot deal with his ego, if he realizes you're not the one for him, usually a guy can, within 5-10 seconds of seeing what she looks like, he decided no, especially if she doesn't have natural coloured hair. When he is just in for the thrill of the chase, that could be Chad. If he suffers from toxic masculinity, some men, whoops, silly boy. Some men suffer from toxic masculinity. One moment they're all over you, the next moment they are all acting all cold. That's the guy with poor self-esteem. If he has commitment issues, if he chooses to take his time, if he is being influenced. Some men seek advice from friends and family before taking their relationship to the next level. In other words, talking to their bros. If his friends tell him you are not good enough for him, he's likely to disappear suddenly. That's a woman's perspective, I would say. On hindsight, she talks to her girlfriends and she follows them. Guys generally don't do that, no matter what I just said before with the guy's bros. If he's not yet ready to forego his freedom, some men perceive a commitment as an emotional cage. They're not ready to lose their freedom, so they can't just keep a long-term relationship. But if a guy feels the right woman, then he will. Is he a Casanova? Could be, is he Chad? If he doesn't know what to do, beyond shyness, some guys don't know what to do to make progress in a relationship. I can understand that. I'd probably be that way myself. And then he assumes you're taken. And then again, if he's wealthy and a beautiful woman in a high-end social event, no doubt she's probably taken by somebody else, especially if she's famous, so I can understand that as well. And finally, he's just not into you. Usually on the first date, a guy gets a pretty good idea what the woman is like. And then what to do if a guy acts interested and then backs off. And this is advice for women. Don't feel rejected. Take care of yourself. Communicate your feelings. And then guys act interested and then disappear. How to save yourself from being another casualty. You go on TikTok, no doubt, and tell the world all about it. They're scared of commitment. They're not sure what they want. They're playing games. That's funny coming from a woman. They're stringing you along. That would be Chad. They're not taking you seriously. They're not treating you with respect. They're not ready for a relationship. They're not over their ex-girlfriend. They're afraid of getting hurt. They're not emotionally available. And then just a takeaway. That's what happens when the guy just disappears. I've found this. The thing about women and bears and guys, what they would choose in a wood. There's a bunch of Korean ladies and there naturally is a bear. The opting out the rise of female independence and the decline of dating apps. This was done on June 10th this year. And it's about the 4G movement. Started in Korea. The no dating, no sex, no marriage, no childbirth. But they forget the Korean women have said they've never heard of that, and it's just that it's so expensive to get married in South Korea. That's why they're not doing that. But American women, it says a similar trend taking hold in the United States. Women are increasingly abandoning dating apps and embracing singlehood. Then why do they complain on TikTok? By choice. Scientific studies back this up, showing that while marriage tends to benefit men in numerous ways, improving their health, wealth and happiness, that is a moot point. It often has the opposite effect on women. So a woman's health, wealth and happiness isn't affected by a woman getting married, but what happens when she divorces and she takes half his stuff, who face unequal domestic responsibilities and emotional labour. Yes, it's called being a wife, a part of a team, you and your husband. These findings have empowered more women to opt out of the dating scene altogether. Seeking fulfillment and happiness, seeking fulfillment and happiness on their own terms, why stick around for domestic drudgery when you can bask in the glory of living your best single life? But what happens when she hits the wall? She passes 30 years old, she's single, she's got no children, her looks are starting to slowly fade. What then? She goes on TikTok and complains and she can't find anyone. Where are all the good men gone? And then we have the man versus bear entitlement in modern dating about it. Reflection of a growing entitlement among some men, who feel they deserve relationships merely by existing. Not so. This mentality is fueled by hyper-masculine figures, see below, who preach that men are inherently deserving of respect and relationships without putting in mutual effort or respect. This, naturally, as you can see, was written by a woman. A guy puts in a lot of effort into his marriage because he wants to make his marriage work. He loves his wife, he loves his children, and he'll do what's necessary to maintain the family unit. And it says this rhetoric not only perpetuates misogyny, but also sets unrealistic expectations for young men entering the dating scene. Well, of late, men are not entering the dating scene. These discussions highlight a growing sentiment among some men who feel entitled, see the wording, to relationships simply by virtue of their existence. This in turn fosters a sense of entitlement and superiority, which can be detrimental to genuine relationship building. And then we have an attack on Andrew Tate and similar figures, and response from financially independent women. Women increasingly financial, independent and self-sufficient are opting out of dating entirely. Well, then why do they complain on TikTok that the guys are ghosting them and they can't get a second, third or fourth date, rather than engaging with partners who don't meet their standards for equality? This independence is reshaping the dating landscape as more women choose self-fulfillment over unsatisfactory relationships, until of course they hit the wall. And then it's more yada 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 yada. These are the dating apps that are going Buzz, Match, Bumble, Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge and Grindr. That is the homosexual dating app. And then more yada 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 yada. I'll naturally put all these links below. And then it says, why settle for bad dates and emotional labour when self-sufficiency is so damn satisfying? If they're so self-sufficiently satisfied, then why do they complain on TikTok? The ripple effect is vast, from individual autonomy to electoral ballots. For those living under a rock, women make up more than half the population. No shit. Our economic decisions are a seismic force capable of moving markets and swaying elections. Not necessarily. If men gave up working, the entire economy would collapse. And then we have the comments, 2 of them. More comments, how many? Gotta be joined. Bugger that. Bloody hell. a lady and a guy. Anyway, that's Andrew Tate that they complain about, and that's the bear. You gotta feel sorry for the bear. He's got a full belly, he's wandering through the woods, and he comes across a mad woman, and he probably think, sod that, she's too much trouble for me, so he'd clear off himself. Anyway, to finish it off, I found this. As you know, women don't get into marriage, they pass the wall, menopausal, and they end up with a cat. This is a feminist magazine. Case of making government work for single cat ladies. So they understand that women are going cat ladies, so they want federal government help. Instead of ignoring and making fun of us single people, listen to us. And then it just goes about the recent thing in the American election. J.D. Vance's incendiary comments about the Democratic Party being run by, quote, miserable single childless cat ladies has struck a major nerve. Now that's underscore, so see what that brings up. That is ABC News, that's a Disney channel. You can read that yourself. Political contests incentivize wild claims by people like Vince who are desperate for attention and power. Well, Kamala Harris is desperate to become president. In response, defenses in favor of Vice President Kamala Harris point out she's a parent because of her stepchildren, which puts her in the same class as George Washington, America's founding stepfather. So she compares herself, but children-wise, to George Washington. Make of that as you will if you're an American listening to this. And it says, there's less attention defending those of us who truly are single cat ladies. Nearly 20 years ago, social scientists Della DiPaolo and Wendy Morris, after described singleism, they used to be called spinsters, the prejudice, stereotyping and discrimination towards singles, but do they ever do that towards guys who prefer to remain single? Since their article, the number of single households has only been growing. Instead of ignoring and making fun of us single people, listen to us. Let's see what that brings up. How the household culture of America has changed over time. Single-person households increased from 6.9 million in 1960 to 37.9 in 2022. And then an article all about it. Anyway, this goes on and on, but you can get a t-shirt now. Those of you in America, once you're out and about in the warm weather, if you're in the warm parts of America, just have a look to see if any American women have started to wear that. Then you know that cat lady is becoming a social norm amongst the American society. And then yada yada, yada yada. I'm privileged of the time I do not marry for my economic survival. Well, these days you're marrying, have children for your genetic survival. The way our foremothers had to, now it's time to get rid of singleism. Single people serve their communities in meaningful careers. What about the single bachelor guys that serve the community? And this, I'm not a slave to the biological clock. See what that brings up. Not a slave to the biological clock. World Population Day. The thought of bearing a child into an already full life, into an already full planet, has always seemed preposterous. It just wasn't my anxiety about our planet's carrying capacity, or the fact that for most of my 20s and 30s, in her peak, most fertile years, I had little time to contemplate having a child, probably riding a cock carousel. And though I certainly didn't, I was too busy playing in marimba bands, volunteering at Guatemalan wildlife rehabilitation centers, rescuing dogs, immersing myself in a master's program in conservationism, and liaising with a series of activists, drum circle devotees, whatever that is, and professional music festival goers who are decidedly not dad material. In other words, she was a bit picky, but if Chad had come along, she'd probably throw all that out the window and go with him. Hey up, what's this? Ohio man sentenced to 66 months in prison after threatening a Planned Parenthood. What the bloody hell's that all about? Bugger off. Ohio man sentenced to 66 months in prison after threatening a Planned Parenthood. June 29th this year. A man charged with violating the freedom of access to clinic entrances. The convicted 33-year-old Mohammed, Muslim, as charged concerning threats he made against a Planned Parenthood in Greater Ohio in 2022. The daft bugger made threats of arson over the phone to the reproductive health clinic, an explicit violation of Federal FACE Act, which makes threats of violence against reproductive health clinics and intimidating employees as well as interfering with their access illegal. He was charged with a misdemeanor, whatever that is. The FACE Act, he pleaded guilty in February to this year. Let's say what he was sentenced to. He was sentenced to 66 months, 5.5 years in prison, 3 years for supervised release, and more than $270,000 in restitutions for the money he successfully laundered. Daft bugger. It shows the mentality of some Islamists. Anyway, the Miss movement is wanting government help for cat ladies. Now, to finish this video off, I found this. This is worth listening to. In fact, if you go down to contact media center, I sent them an email with a link to this. It's this guy here. He tells it to the camera, and it tells women straight why they're not dating, and it's more difficult in 2024, and it's stressing people out, most likely women, because some guys just don't want to go with them, and the result, there's going to be more cat ladies than the government to know what to handle with. I think I'm on the half an hour mark now, so I'll just have to leave it at that. You know the routine, people. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. Completely up to you. So until next Monday, that's it for this one. Bye bye.